Hello, and thanks for stopping by. I'm Joe Pryor, and you're watching Spreadsheet Excellence. If you've arrived here, you're an advisor or a partner with Symphony University, and you'd like to learn a thing or two about how to improve your work with Microsoft Excel or other spreadsheet applications. On the bottom of the screen, you can take a look at what we're going to try and accomplish today. We're going to introduce you to this course, and we're going to talk about the broad strokes of what the course is hoping to achieve. We're going to talk about what exactly Microsoft Excel is and why you'd want to use a spreadsheet application. And then we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about how you can get Microsoft Excel or what the various ways are to access Excel. In future episodes, we're going to break down individual functions within Excel. And the goal, as an introduction, of this course is to keep these episodes short and sweet and to the point. Ideally, the runtime will be approximately 15 minutes, and the hope is that you can utilize this course in the future as a reference for brushing up on a specific topic. If you want to learn about VLOOKUPs or a macro function or something, instead of a 45-minute, hour-long lecture that's filled with a bunch of information you don't need and you have to search through to find the specific data you want, hopefully the individual episodes will allow you to get right to it, learn what you need, and get back to work. So we're going to have 8 episodes in this first chapter, this first introduction to Excel. And in this, we're going to cover all of the basic functions of Excel. We're going to cover the user interface. We're going to cover how you get Excel. We're going to cover setting up a new workbook. We're going to cover basic formulas and functions you might run across. We're going to wrap up things with pivot charts and graphing and how you would use Excel to present some data. So let's talk about what Excel is and why you'd want to use Excel. For many years, accountants and financial analysts would use a workbook full of spreadsheets to track financial data. They would track transactions, they would track money in, money out, they'd prepare financial reports and statements like you would see in an accounting form today, an income sheet or an income statement, balance sheet, that kind of thing. And initially, Excel was envisioned as a way to replace or replicate that functionality, the functionality of a spreadsheet, said as such because it was so large it would fill your entire desk or spread across the whole thing. In the intervening 30 or 40 years, Excel has had a great deal of power added to its functionality underneath the hood. And now Excel is the first port of call for data scientists and business analysts and anybody using simple data and even complex data. Entire financial departments run off of multiple linked Excel spreadsheets, and in a future course we're going to talk about VBA and macros and linking spreadsheets, but that is for another time. So in the interest of time, in keeping things efficient, why would you want to use Excel? So unless you are trying to replace an accountant who's using pen and paper, that doesn't make a very compelling use case as to why you'd want to use Excel. Outside of accounting or finance, or even within those functions, Excel is one of the fastest, most efficient, most approachable tools out there for entering, organizing, sorting, categorizing, and analyzing data that currently exists. It can take manual processes that might take you hours, and with a couple clicks of a button, can do them automatically for you in seconds. They can significantly increase the amount of time you have available for analysis and proper thought versus spending all your time on transactional details and getting caught up with what the data is trying to tell you. It can also, in some more advanced cases, enter that data for you. We'll get to some of that stuff in the future. There are ways to scan sheets of data and have Excel, with the power of limited AI, fill the Excel sheet out for you. And at that point, all your responsibility is instead of data entry, it's just data cleanup and just making sure everything in there is correct. So there's a lot of ways Excel can save you time and make you more efficient. And if you're spending less time on data entry, that gives you more brain power and more energy to spend on things like analysis and interacting with your client and understanding what your client actually needs or wants. Or, outside of work, if you can take 8 hours of work and crunch it down into 3 minutes or even 3 hours, that's that much more time you have to spend time with your kids, your loved ones, go out taking care of a hobby you like to do, hit the gym, go for a walk, etc. The point is, it's very efficient. And I think, from my personal experience, Excel is one of the most successful and irreplaceable tools that Microsoft has developed over the course of its entire existence. You can replace Windows with Linux or Mac. You can replace Word with any of a dozen word processing applications. And there are a number of Excel knockoffs out there that are all really good, but none of them have the same power, spit, and polish that Microsoft Excel does. So, first things first, let's talk about how you get Excel. So, if you are an advisor with Symphony, if you're watching this, you have access to a Symphony email. Right now it's offered through GoDaddy, but in the future I believe we're going to be hosting it directly through Office 365. So navigate to your Symphony email. And when you do so, you're going to be greeted with, so let me take a step back. Navigate to your Symphony email through a browser. You can't do this through Outlook, the actual desktop application, which is what this looks like. They do look very similar, don't they? You can't do this through your desktop Outlook application. You have to do it through a browser. And then when you take a look at the top left of the screen, you're going to see 9 little pips next to the word Outlook. Click on that. It'll blow up this launcher tab here. Now you're going to have a number of web applications. Right now we're using the Outlook web application. So if I clicked that, it would just take us right back to where we are right now. And these are all web applications that mimic the functionality of a desktop client of a Microsoft product. This will just take you to your shared drive, your sort of one cloud-based shared drive. These are all great web applications. If you mouse over these little 3 pips that appear next to any of them when you mouse over them, you mouse over that, you're going to see that this sort of button highlights as a gray, a lighter shade of gray. Now I've got a dark theme on mine. You might have a white background and different coloration. But mouse over Excel and you'll see the context menu. So you can learn more about what Excel is, how you can use Excel, or you can click open in new tab. Now, for the purposes of showing you the various ways you can get to Excel, I'm going to go ahead and click on this. And this will take Excel to a new tab, and you'll be greeted with the launching page of Excel, of Excel's Outlook or browser client. There's another way you can get Excel, and this is the more powerful way and the way that I recommend. If you go up here to where it says Office 365, you should go ahead and left click on this, or if you right click on it, it will take you to a context menu kind of like this, a new context menu here. This is the context menu my browser offers, and you click on open in new tab, and you'll come to, this is the Office launcher, and this will look just like the Excel. It's the same kind of idea, and this general user experience will be, for the most part, mimicked across all of Office's applications. You'll have a number of things you can open, recent applications or documents you've opened in the near past, and then access to more recent applications. So if you want to install Office generally, but Excel specifically on your desktop, which I strongly recommend you do, come to this button up here that says Install Office. Click on that, and you'll have 2 different options here. So Office 365 Apps, this is the default button. This is what you should click in 95% of cases, and this will take you to a prompt that will walk you through installing. Click Run or click Say Yes if you get a pop-up, and stay online through the whole time, and you'll have the opportunity to install your program. If you need further help, click on the Need Help Installing button down here, but pretty much these 3 steps should do the trick for you, and then everything else will be automatic. Now, I've installed Office already on my computer, so I'm not going to run through this whole process. The only reason you would ever want to click on Other Install Options is if you needed a unique or different install version of Office. So you click on Install Office here, you get the exact same prompt, minus the pictures it looks like of the last screen. However, if you need a different version of Excel, you can get to this tab down here two different ways. You can click on View Apps and Devices, or you can click on just View Apps and Devices on the sidebar here. Microsoft generally has this sort of a sidebar in every application that's a browser based application, and you can minimize it if you need to or maximize it back out. This design element is fairly common in their devices, so it should look pretty similar at this point. You click down to Apps and Devices. This will give you control over what kind of version of Office you're installing. So the default, this system is smart enough to read what computer you're exploring on, and it will install for you the best version that your computer can currently handle. So for me, it's doing it in English because that's my native language, or what the system's set to as its primary language, and it's offering to install a 64-bit version of Office. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say 64-bit versus 32-bit, just go with whatever's here by default. Essentially, this means how much computing power my computer will give Office to utilize. Now, Office is a fairly light application that won't draw a lot of resources, so you can get away with a 32 even on a 64-bit computer. But if you don't know, just go with the default and let it be. Now, a quick note, our Office 365 license lets you, the user, have Office installed on up to 5 personal devices. So if you have a computer at work, a computer at home, and a laptop you travel with, that's 3. You got 2 more you can use. And the same deal as always. Click Install Office and so forth, and you're off to the races. It's the same button as before. One of the only reasons I can really think of you'd want to use this function down here versus the default button is if English isn't your native language, at which point in time you can select a different several different languages. The default, it installs the same general software, but it defaults to whatever your chosen tongue is. Let's say that your native language is French. Off you go. And that's one of the quick, easy ways you can get that customized to your personal user experience. There are 1 or 2 other ways I want to explore very briefly about accessing Office content, and that's through your smartphone. If you have an Apple phone, an iPhone device, there's an Office app that is great for viewing content, but I would argue the phone is not really a great medium with which to generate large amounts of content. However, if you need to just update or change data in 1 or 2 cells in an Excel spreadsheet, or if you'd like to make a very quick edit on a PowerPoint or a Word document, this is the thing you can do if you've got a little bit of downtime on the plane or on the train or whatever when you're going around. The application exists on the Android as well. It's exactly the same. They are both developed in tandem. You will frequently see new features roll out on Apple devices and Android devices within the same day. So they are developed very closely to each other. There's one final way that I would recommend you take a look at getting access to Office, and that's if you've got a Microsoft Teams, which as a Symphony advisor you do. If someone shares with you in the course of your duties a Microsoft Excel document through Teams, you can open it in Teams. You can open this document in Teams, and then if you come up here to the right of the device, you'll see more options, and you can open this exact Excel spreadsheet in a browser window. And you can see I'm working on this on a different instance, so I'll talk about that here in a second too. Or you can open it in Excel proper. So this is a great feature. Actually, this wasn't planned, but I'm going to talk about it here. Excel is wonderful for co-working on a project. If you and someone else are all working on a project and it's all located in Teams, you can see what someone else is doing. So this is me. I'm in a browser. I've got another copy of this Excel spreadsheet open because I'm currently working on it. So you can see someone else, what they're doing, and you can track the actions of them, and then you're free to go and do whatever you want on your own in Excel. So they'll see what you're doing and you'll see what they're doing, and there's an opportunity in the conversation button for you and the person you're working with in Excel to talk to each other. Now, if you're on a phone call or a conference call, great, do that instead. But if the two of you are not currently communicating vocally or audiographically, you can utilize the conversation window to do that here. You can also just drop comments. If you make changes and then you save it and go away for a while, but you want someone to know what you did while you were gone, the comments option will allow you to do the same thing, the same general functionality. Leave a note for someone to discover later on. So like I said, from here in Teams, you can open an Excel, and if you want to make changes to it, so it's important to note, this is currently read only. You can't do anything to this, I don't think. I guess you can make it some formatting changes. But if you want to do more proper development of the Excel itself, you can open it in a browser. You click on that, it'll quickly open it in another browser window. Maybe not that quick. Yeah. Okay, it'll open it when it does. And you can see, I mean, here's the exact same spreadsheet in my desktop client of Excel. So we'll take a look at, that's one other way you can get to Excel. I do not recommend Teams as your primary utilization avenue for Excel. I think Teams is fine, but it's not geared towards Excel as your primary port of call. So this is Excel in a browser. As you can see, it looks nearly identical to Excel on a desktop client. So this is my installed desktop version of Excel. This is the browser version of Excel. We'll talk about all this in more detail in future episodes, but we're already getting on your time. So to wrap up or to go over all of these things, if you and here's the desktop client. You can see that I'm I'm using Excel twice now, it looks like. So let's wrap up what we talked about. In this course, we're going to be covering in 15-ish minute snippets a specific topic about Excel, a specific function. In the next episode, we're going to talk about the user interface, the ribbons, and where you can find most of the options you'd look to find in the course of your day-to-day. We've talked about what exactly Excel or a spreadsheet generally is. And we've talked about where and how you can get to Excel. You can get it through Microsoft Teams. You can see it here. You can get it through a browser, through your Symphony email, two different ways. Right here and here. You can get it on your smartphone for the purposes of reading things, or you can install it up here and install Office. Or if you have a specific use case, for example, English is not your first language, you can install it here on my account under apps and devices, and you can install as a different language from there. In the browser, we have the same general user experience as you're going to find in every other version of Excel. So the desktop client here and the browser client are going to have many of the same buttons in all of the same places, and they're going to look identical. I insert, delete, format. They look the same. They're laid out the same. There are subtle differences between the desktop and browser client, but 90% of the user experience is mimicked perfectly across both devices. And we've talked about a little bit why you'd want to use Excel. It allows you to quickly and efficiently sort and organize data. As an example, briefly, I'm going to take this whole table here and I'm going to turn it into, a table. Okay. And then if I wanted to quickly sort, let's say, for example, which documents do I and don't I have content for? All of my yes articles are down here, and I know I don't got to worry about those. And these up here, all my red columns, all my no's, this is something that requires my attention. If I only wanted to see, for example, things I didn't have, I could just click off, pull this little box down here, click on, I only want to see no's. Boom. Now I know these are the things I explicitly have to work on, for example. So I'm not going to save. I guess I already saved it. Okay. Yep, there it is. So the changes you make in the desktop or browser client are mimicked immediately. Here's the exact same function on a browser, and boom, we're back. We've got the whole thing. Everything you do in one is immediately uploaded and seen in the other, and they're all interconnected. This is the power, in my mind, of Excel and its ability for co-working. So we're going to talk about a lot of this stuff in the next episode. We're going to talk about all the ribbons up here, what they mean, what you can do with them, what powers these give you in terms of a user, the same thing with all the rest of these various and sundry tabs. And we're going to break into that. In a future episode, we'll talk about building a spreadsheet, building tables, how you write formulas, how you talk to Excel, how Excel talks to you, and how you can try and use Excel to make your work faster, more efficient, and more easy. I apologize for this episode running longer, but an introductory episode tends to do that. Everything else from here on out should be fairly tight to one subject. Thanks again for watching. I'm Joe Pryor. This is Spreadsheet Excellence, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Until then, though, have a good one.